In this video, we're going to be deriving the node feature definition list for utilities. Right, so when you want to derive the utilities node list, you want to think about all of the different types of networks. So we're going to have nodes for communications, we're going to have nodes for electrical, for gas, as well as wastewater and also water. Now, in addition to this, we're also going to have conflict nodes, which are going to be used when we run clash detection. Typically with roadway projects, we are going to be modeling existing nodes pretty generically. Surveyors are going to provide as much information as they have, but a lot of times they are just going to be a generic communications, electrical, water type of node. The exceptions to that is, for electrical, you might want to have an above ground versus below ground, or like a service pole or utility pole. Also for electrical, you're going to see things like light poles or transformers. So you'll want to talk to the utility modelers and ask them what they typically use in their projects so that you can have a feature definition for each one that they might need inside of their individual projects. So I'm looking inside of the delivered workspace right now, just looking at their cell library. So here is a top cell for a light pole. So you're going to also consider to have a separate feature definition for each different graphical representation that you need. So when we think of light poles, this could mean different heights. It could also be if it has one arm versus two arms, or different types, if it has lighting or not. Something similar with your utility poles, but you're just going to think about what utility nodes you will need to be creating inside of your workspace. The majority of these features are going to have a top and bottom cell, so anything that we need to extrude the height or vary the height, we're going to be using a top and bottom. So in a previous video, I used a utility pole as an example. So you can see in this model, this is the top portion of the cell, so this is placed on the ground surface right here. And then this is the bottom cell. And then as we change the invert elevation here, we're going to have this extrusion occur between the top and bottom cells. So that is going to be the case for the majority of these utility nodes. The exception to this is something like a conflict node, where we're just going to have a bottom cell only, represented somewhat generically with some sort of colored node. Another example could be if you have a junction box or something that you want to tie in with, but it's not going to have a top and bottom cell because it's not going to change in height. Then that's when you're just going to have the one cell, as opposed to a top and a bottom. Okay, so here is a list that I've built out for this example workspace. So it's pretty generic in nature, so I'm going to have an access point for communications, for gas, electrical, above and below ground, water, and then some conflict points. So you're going to build this initial list and then give it to the designers so that they can inform you if this is a complete list or if you need to add additional. And then also you want to consider existing features as well. So the majority of your utility nodes will likely be existing features, which is the opposite of what we see with drainage. But either way, you're going to build out this list here, and this will be the list that you create your feature definitions from on the utilities side of things.